Good afternoon, or good morning, actually. I'm Scott Richards, CEO of Dial800, and we're here to talk about one simple way to increase direct response. Have you ever woken up Monday morning and felt like this guy? We don't have sound, by the way, because with sound it actually is much better. Can you hear it? No, you can hear me, but you can't hear the cute sound that I had behind this. So hold on a moment. Because we have to have sound. Should be. It is. No, it's a short.
You should still hear it.
By the way, if that didn't work, nothing else would work in the whole presentation. So this is how you feel Monday morning if you are a marketer. Every marketer feels this way Monday morning, or you're not really a marketer. Everybody feels this way. So what do? You pick the phone up and you call your agency and say, there's a problem. That's your agency. And they're saying, oh my goodness, what do we do now? And so they try to fix things. And there's three things that we always try to fix. By the way, this is for participation here. What three things do we try to fix? There's actual prizes for participation. Anybody know what we try to fix? So the spots, we try to, maybe the creative, right? The offer, yes? The offer, anybody? What's the third thing we try to fix? Price, right? So we have the offer, the call center, you could do that too. So the three things you try to crank those levers on, it's right there, offer, creative, and media. And so some magic formula, you try to figure that out, and if I just adjust it just right, maybe we'll obviously increase response, and that's the objective. But there's one lever that so many people do not think about, and this lever is so simple, and people just don't think about it because it's way too obvious. Anybody have an idea what this lever is? Ease. No, by the way, where's my chocolate bar people? You get chocolate bars for participation. Okay, chocolate bars for the man in the front. By the way, you get chocolate bars if you answer questions. There you go. So, no, the last one is this. It's so obvious and so simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I've been in the business for 16 years. I have done more campaigns with toll-free numbers and the whole strategy behind a toll-free number. It's something that people just forget about, and I'm going to hopefully, when you guys are done here, you'll never forget about it again. I was at a show once, and Dick Wexler, a wonderful marketer, said a 10% increase in calls can be, what do you think increase in profits? Anybody have an idea? Could be a 50% increase in profits. And I didn't believe that. I thought, gee, that's really cool. And then what we did is we created this calculator to actually play with it. And sure enough, a 10% increase in call volume could be 50 or even more % increase in profits because you got a lot of expenses and it's like a plane that's flying. The plane's going to fly. The plane is your media buy. That's where the big money comes, right? Everything after you break even is incremental. That plane's going to fly whether it's half full or all the way full. So increasing calls is significant. So I'm going to give you an example of what a memorable number is, and we're going to get in, so by the time you're done, you're going to be an expert on what a real memorable number is. The top number, 226-7700 versus the bottom number. Show of hands. Anybody, somebody knew. What do you think the difference in response is? We did a radio test. All of the tests are on our website if you want to see them. Anybody have an idea of the difference in response on that number on radio versus this? Radio short form. Anybody? Idea? Three times. It's 25% more. It's amazing. It really is unbelievable. And I'm going to show you why that is. Let's look at another one. The top number, 940-000. This was done by Euro, and they did it on the ION network, and they did it with a company that is a client of ours that was in the Medical Americans for Healthcare. That number versus that number, it got over 50% more calls. It's sick. It's simple. It's so easy, and people don't think, gee, well, a number? So that's a big difference. So now, the question is why? Why aren't more marketers doing it? It's not your fault, because it's like a guy going to the wine aisle. You know you like a certain Cabernet, and so you go to the wine aisle, and the marketer's got tons of choices. I can do internet, I can do this, and everybody's got a great idea. And what do you typically do? You go back to what's comfortable. Look at it. It's new. Just whatever number will work. So it's not your fault, because everybody also knows that you should eat right and you should exercise. But if everybody ate right and exercised, there would be no direct response business, right? So because people know stuff in their head, doesn't mean that they're following through in their hearts. So if they're not following through, then you're not getting the results. So now, lest you think that leaders in the industry, early adopters, aren't doing it, very substantial companies like this are really adopting much more memorable numbers in their advertising. And these companies have tested and have tried them and split tests and all these things, and gee, they found it really works. And these are the leaders in our industry. So let's play a little game, and it's your participation, so watch carefully.
Because it's completely invisible.
Because it's designed to help me hear better.
Introducing AMP, a new kind of hearing aid. Call 1-888-485-0942 to find an AMP hearing professional near you. Only $1,500 a pair.
Okay, who wants to play the game with me? You get a chocolate bar if you play. Yes, go ahead. Okay. What was the name of the product? AMP, and what do they sell? Hearing aids? Great. And cost $1,500. And you want to buy it now. What's the number? 888 what? 3828? Did you say that? No. So everybody here is sitting here listening to this, and we all saw it, and it's virtually impossible for anybody to remember 10 digits. And we're going to tell you the science behind this. So, a couple of reasons. I was just at a panel earlier. This is your consumers when they're watching TV, right? They've got the second screen. They're busy. They're distracted. When they're in the car, it's not any better. So if you make it difficult for them to remember to call you, less people will call you. And that's why we got such good results when you put in a simple, better number. So let's take a look at American Idol. Now, if you know American Idol, anybody know the phone number of American Idol to vote? It's 866-IDOLS-02. Now, the funny story is Clay Aiken and Ruben Studdard, Ruben won. He won by 125,000 votes. Do you know how many people misdialed the 800, not the 866 number? 250,000 people misdialed. They heard Ryan Seacrest say, call 866-IDOLS-02. Call 866-IDOLS. He says over and over and over again. And they dialed 800. In other words, he might have won. Clay Aiken might have won had people not misdialed the phone number. So poor Clay. Now this is an example of a number done right. Anybody want to play this game? You guys ready? Okay, right there in the back. By the way, I need the chocolate bar person rewarding. Okay, good. So watch the commercial.
Go to moneymutual.com today and get up to $1,000 in your checking account by tomorrow. Just be 18 or older and have a regular income of at least $800 a month. Money Mutual has you covered. Need cash tomorrow? Call 1-800-585-CASH today.
All right. What's the phone number? Is she right? 800-585-CASH? Would you say yes? Let me see if anybody thinks that's the number. All right. That's the number. It's pretty simple. It's so obvious, and it drives us crazy at Dial 800 when we see people not using a memorable number in their ads. So let's go to the science behind this actually works. In 1954, Dr. George Miller came up with this idea, and people can remember 7 or 8 things in their short-term memory. Your short-term memory, your working memory. That's the memory that you use to walk and to, when you listen to ads, to make a call. So in 2002, Dr. Nelson Cowan from the University of Missouri said, no, it's not 7 or 8 things. It's only 3 or 4 things that you can remember. Right? So Malcolm Gladwell in Outliers talks about this memory loop. 2 seconds, it's in, out, and that's why it's easy to remember 800-555 cash or 585 cash, right? So 3 things. So the first thing I need you to take away from this, okay, hopefully you've taken away some other things, is 3 things. When you put a number together, it's called number chunking. We chunk in our memory. That's how we remember things. We were born that way. It's just, when we were little, that's what we say. We had some blocks over here and some blocks over here, and that's the way our brains think. It's not something we needed to learn. So you're taking something that's inborn in people, the way we remember numbers and digits. And now, let's look at Susan Polgar. Susan Polgar, anybody know who Susan Polgar is? Okay, yes, you do, because you were in my workshop before. Susan Polgar is from My Brilliant Brain. You could Google it. It's a wonderful video. And she is a chess master. She's, in fact, the only grandmaster woman, the first one in the world. She has memorized, using chunking, 100,000 chess boards, and she plays like lightning. It's an amazing thing. It was done by the BBC, I believe. Take a look at this short clip and how she uses chunking.
The diagram has been pasted to the side of a cafe's speeding van. Susan only has time for a single 3-second glance. But watch this. She's made an exact copy. Susan only has to remember 5 chunks, easily manageable in normal working memory. But without chunking, her memory is no better than anyone else's. And here's the proof. On the other side of the van, the pieces have been placed at random by a non-chess player. So this time, there are no recognizable chunks. Now Susan's trying to remember 24 individual pieces, and she can't do it.
All the pieces are in random position. It's just so much harder to remember, especially under a very short time.
See, that's it, a very short time. So in your ads, people aren't concentrating, right? They're not paying attention to your ads, and they're not paying attention like we're studying something. And even when you are, like the entire group here, we can't remember it. So let's take a look at some specific numbers. We've actually created an algorithm, and it's the only algorithm, I believe, that exists in the world that puts together numbers in very chunkable formats, and it has hundreds of thousands of different possible things. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So here's a number. We call this a double 10 series with a date in the back. Okay, so it's 800, and by the way, it must always be 800. Don't ever, ever let anybody advertise that you know and like with anything other than 800, because people actually lop that off in their brain, and they hear, call 866, and they dial what? 800. Only 800s. So that's number 1. Number 2, that's a double digit, so it's easy, 330, and then you've got a date. Dates are really interesting, especially since most people have spent most of their life in the 1900s. So that's a really cool kind of a number. Here's a number, we call this a step and repeat number. So you got 230, 230, 2. How many chunks is that, by the way? Anybody? 3. Good, there's 3 chunks. 230, 230, 2. This is a 10,000 series, and we can go on and on and on, but I'm going to show you something that's really cool. That's cool, but this is really cool. Take a look at this number. Now, this number is interesting, but Apple Computer thinks a little differently. And I'm going to tell you right now, marketers are going to start doing some really cool things like this with numbers. How could we make that number better? Does anybody have an idea how we could make that exact number, that's 100, and then O with a double on the back? Is there any way I could make that number better? Anybody want to? Yes. Like that? How's that? 2,000, that's chunk number 1, 544. Okay, close your eyes. 2,000, 544. Easy. Here's another one. How can I make that one better? How can I make that one better? There we go. 88, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a double with a progressive. There's progressives, there's regressives, there's hundreds, tens, thousands, and the combinations of the digits in the front and the back and everything really adds to the science of how people remember things. Anyways, this is the fourth lever, toll-free numbers guaranteed to increase response, virtually any commercial. I'm Scott Richards, CEO of Dial800. I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you, Scott. If you have any questions for Scott, Scott will be available right
So
after.
if anybody has any questions, yeah. Give her a mic.
Hello. Was wondering, it's very difficult to get an 800 number now. How do you go about getting these very specialized
Without a self-serving
numbers?
plug?
Yes. Was this a good segue for you?
No, this is about all education. There are companies like Dial800 that you can actually get numbers. We have over 50,000 of them in the 800 version. We've been collecting them since 1989.
Scott, based on what you just said, then I guess you would have to advise your dub house on how to chunk the number explicitly.
Oh my gosh. Rick, I'm glad you brought that up. Super important. What happens is you could take even a good number and you give it to the dub house. It's very important to read the number, how you want it chunked. So remember our 230, 232? So you don't want to say call 800-230-2302. You want to say call 800-230-232. So the voice inflection, and I even think you should underline it. Don't leave it up to people's imagination. Give it to them in their brain, the way their brain thinks. So really important. Thank you. That's an excellent question. Any other questions?
One more question, please, because we...
Yes. Give him the microphone.
With people using mobile phones and so forth, a lot of times they're not dialing the one. It seems to me the one is adding something on top of the chunks, potentially. Do you recommend that companies just go 800 with the number or still a 1-800?
Yeah, it's a good question. Should you put 1-800 or 800? I don't think it makes a difference. I think that the people know intuitively. They lop off the 800, so it really doesn't make a difference. We haven't tested it, but I would strongly believe that it does not make a difference. It's just get an 800 number, make sure it's chunkable, and obviously for your different media, if you have 20 different spots, have 20 chunkable 800 numbers.
Actually, I'm sorry, we have to end it right here, but if you, Scott, will you be available in the back for additional questions? Well, thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
That was awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just bring it here.